Hi all, welcome back to another episode of Living with the K's.
Another one.
So this week, we're gonna discuss one of our values that's near and dear to both of us, and it's paying it forward. So for me, being raised by my grandparents mostly, this was something that was...
I don't know how your parents are gonna feel about that comment.
I mean, it is what it is, you know?
They were involved. Her parents were involved.
So this was something that was heavily ingrained, I'd say, in all of us, my cousins, my siblings, that, you know, we were put on this earth for a bigger purpose. So whether it's doing it through church, whether it's community service, or, you know, just taking care of your friends and family.
That was your grandparents you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this new to you?
No, I just, you know, people learn it in different places.
Yeah. I think about my grandfather and every single person that he touched, and like even at his funeral, it was people going on and on and on about how he helped them in some way. So for me, that was huge. Like, wow, like you really made an impact on this earth and helped people. So I think to be able to pay it forward is huge.
What is paying it forward? Is it just straightforward? Does everyone know what that means?
Well, I mean, I think it's different for everyone, but it's really, I'd say for me, it's giving back. It's serving, you know? Whether, I mean, it's like the things that I mentioned before. You can serve in however makes you feel good.
Yeah, and I would say doing it without expecting something in return, right? If you're expecting something in return, then you're not really paying it forward. No? I mean, that's what I would think when I hear pay it forward. I think.
Well, I mean, I think you're doing it. I don't know. I think if someone did something for me, I would want to give back because this was done for me, and that's sort of how I think about it. Yeah. So I'm not thinking, oh, I need to get something in return, but it's like so much was done for me that I want to give back.
So what if someone's like, hey, no one's ever done anything for me?
I mean, yeah, I think that's a good, that's true. That's a good way to look at it. I mean,
I don't accept that. I feel like someone somewhere along your path has done something for you. You may not have noticed it. Okay. You may not have realized it, but I feel like everyone has gotten some help at some point in their journey. It may not be the moment that they would have wanted it. Would just be hard pressed to find someone who could go out there and outright say, no one has ever done anything for me. Like the moment you're born, you're right. It could be a hospital, could be somewhere else. Someone has played a role in helping you be here.
Yeah. Just glad you questioned me like that.
I was just asking to see how you react to it.
I should have asked the audience, not me.
Our audience can't talk to me, so...
Yeah, they can in the comments.
In the comments,
yeah.
Okay, so you heard that. We need to hear it in the comments. So when I think about paying it forward, I go back to the why. I think for us it is a really important value because we recognize we're not on this planet by ourselves, right? So we're all interconnected. I mean, just the other day we saw like smog in the air that was coming from Canada.
Yeah.
We're all the way in Florida.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That is pretty crazy. So we're interconnected. I also enjoy seeing people succeed and thrive, but growing up poor, growing up low income, this wasn't one of the things that came natural. But when I was in high school, I was a part of a nonprofit that paid kids to pass AP exams. And I remember taking my first AP class my sophomore year of high school, and this before this like incentive program started. I was getting 90s and 95s in the class all year long, and then I failed the exam at the end of the year. I got a 1. And then my junior year, there was this nonprofit that came into the school, and they said they were going to pay kids to pass AP exams. It was like $500 if you got a 3, $750 if you got a 4, and $1,000 if you got a 5. And I remember thinking at the time, like, oh, this is cool. I definitely want to do it. And I passed 5 AP exams by the time I graduated high school. But one of the things I remember thinking was I didn't want a handout, right? I had friends who were attending other high schools and they didn't get paid to pass AP exams. So I just happened to be at one of these high schools. Someone decided to do something in a way that was generous and helpful, but there really was no rhyme or reason to it. And I kind of felt a little guilty, like accepting the money associated with it. When you're poor, you don't want people to think less of you. I think there was a whole lot of like inner voices, inner self-critics going through my head. Like, what if I have to pay someone back, right? What if there's like a gotcha at the end of this and now you owe me something or you have to deliver? So much so that I remember getting my last paycheck and going up to the executive director at the time and saying, hey, I didn't have much and I needed every single dollar in that check, you know, so there's no way I was going to give it back to him at the moment. But I was like, if there's anything I could do for you, like, please let me know. And the guy at the time was a former successful lawyer, and he looked at me and he smiled and he's like, just pay it forward. And for me, at least, I think about that moment every single time, you know, I'm blessed and thinking about helping others, you know, in some way I am paying him back or paying the organization back by paying it forward. But as I went more and more through life, I just recognized how important it is to do things without the expectation that you're going to get something back. Like, that generosity really spreads. For those of you who don't speak Arabic, my name means generous in Arabic. And I do think that when we give, we get. Oftentimes we hear like, when we get, we should give. Since I was a kid, I remember thinking to myself, like, no, we need to give. And the more we give, the more like God blesses us with. And so I think it's just one of those really important values in a relationship, really thinking about the community that you're in, the space that you're in, and working with someone who has that same kind of intention and heart really matters.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for folks?
I do, but I wanted to ask, so you hadn't heard of like scholarships before that moment?
Not really. I mean, I knew scholarships existed, but I was a sophomore going to junior year of high school, so
It just wasn't.
No, it wasn't really spoken about, and I didn't think I was going to win any scholarships.
Yeah.
Funny enough, like I went on and won $250,000 in scholarships, but
yeah, you went to school completely for free, so
yeah, no, I know, but it's something I would have been skeptical of. You know, that the thought that someone was going to pay for me to go to school for nothing because I got good grades.
Yeah,
that's what you're supposed to do in school.
Yeah. So we mentioned this before. I went to private school my whole life, and like I think scholarships, that was a big part of it. Like everyone, a lot of the majority of the people that went to my school were on scholarship just because school was so expensive to afford. So that was sort of the norm one.
So their tuition went from like 50,000 to like 40?
It's different for everyone, you know, I don't know. But I think a lot of the things that they would have you do in school would be around serving. So like there was some, I can't remember what the award was, but I was able to win it because you did all of this community service, you know? So they would encourage it in different ways. And I think that also kind of helped with the mindset that, you know, after you leave here, you're going to go into this world and continue to serve.
So someone did pay you something.
Yeah, I mean,
pay for your education in some way.
Yeah. So yes, tips. I would say figure out what matters to you. You can serve in so many different ways. Like maybe you have a talent. Maybe you just like enjoy being around kids. Maybe you enjoy giving back to older people. Like there's so many different options. So just like figure out what's important to you and then take the time to maybe do it once a month to start and see how that works with your schedule. And if you enjoy it, then you can do it a little bit more. I think something that people might struggle with is, you know, how do I even start? So there's different community groups out there, you know. You can look at your job. Your job is probably going to have different organizations that you can get involved with too.
Yeah, I remember you did the Alzheimer's run.
Yeah.
When you were at, was it Bank of America?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think getting involved there could be somewhere to start, and then just reaching out within your community, Googling like, how can I give back in my community? There's so many different options. You can get involved in your church, whatever faith-based institution matters to you. I'd say that's somewhere that you could start.
I have a few on my side.
Yeah.
You know, I genuinely believe that when you are in an empowered relationship, that the relationship is already like abundant. And so I think that what we're given on top of that is like extra blessing. And one of the things I had a like deeper appreciation for, because I ran a nonprofit, was philanthropy and like giving back, not just with time, but also with money. And so I would encourage you to talk to your partner and like dream up that big vision, right? Because you have an empowered couple, you're an empowered couple, you're gonna have a power couple like push.
Yeah.
And so God is gonna bless you with abundant resources. What are you gonna do with those resources when you receive them? So I think talking about philanthropy, what are the causes that you care about?
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe in the beginning you might not be able to give money, but you can give time. But then start to have the conversations about how do we give a little bit too? Because I think money is fuel, and that fuel is meant to help us like fulfill our passions. Like maybe our job isn't our passion.
Yeah.
Maybe our job isn't doing something amazing for society and the community every single day. And that's not a bad thing, but we can channel those resources and put them into something that you care about. So definitely have those conversations about philanthropy. I also think inviting your partner to those opportunities. So I like to find random community service things,
Yes,
or
he does.
when the church has something, when Cornell has something, the alma mater has something, and
Yeah.
you know, I have that day, it fills up my cup because I know I've been given so much that just the opportunity to go out there and do something for someone else is great. And I would say invite your partner when those things come up. And then tied to that, my third tip is don't force your partner to it. So I think it's also great to have your own like dosage.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to go out there and volunteer and give time and
Yeah,
be your
you
partner.
both don't have to be on the same level in terms of how you want to give back. So
Yeah, and so giving back looks different for different people. Like paying it forward might be a mentoring call. It might be,
Yeah.
you know, being in a church couples group and supporting other folks. There's no one way to do it, but it is intentionally taking time out of your schedule to show up for your community and to give back to other folks, or pay it forward, not necessarily give back. I'd say like those are my tips. So if you're talking about this with your partner, or you're dating already, or you're in a committed relationship, how do you have a conversation about this?
yeah, I think you could bring this up just reflecting, asking them, is this something that matters to you? And if it is, how can we incorporate it into our lives moving forward?
I think that's a powerful question. I think it has so much in it there. And I think you'll get a sense of what your partner cares about.
Yeah.
And so it tells you a little bit about where their heart is. It'll also tell you if you have shared interests, just by having that conversation. Like you might discover something new about them, or maybe they'll go into an entire like diatribe about how no one ever has helped them. That is definitely a possibility. I've been in situations like that, so I'm not going to deny that they exist, but oftentimes those folks just maybe haven't been able to open their eyes to everything that has really been there in their lives, or maybe they were given something early on and then had others in their lives who've taken it away. And in those cases too, like that vulnerability that comes from it is going to help you deepen your relationship, deepen the trust, and would encourage you to support your partner through it and still find ways to be good, do good, and like show the best in humanity.
Yeah, and it could be a good date night opportunity too. So
that's right. That's all we have for you all today. So thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Living with the K's.